Okay, so welcome everybody, meeting of the Rules Committee for a purpose that our Senate Secretary will lay out relating to the budget adjustment.
So generally speaking, this is the first time that you have been called together to talk about allowing bills that did not make crossover to kind of move forward. Generally speaking, you're going to have, just as a preview, you're going to have a charter next week that didn't make crossover. Charters still go in because it's not exempt. And so in that sense, you'll see one. What's going on here is that I handed out two things. One of them is the crossover language that is in your calendar. And that crossover language kind of tells you that there's some exceptions. They are really generally listed out, as I've talked with both Pro Tem and maybe the House Clerk and a few other people. Some people have ambiguity as to whether the budget adjustment qualifies or not. There's a word including, but in my opinion, it should be inside of the brackets. And so it's probably the budget adjustment on the second sheet I gave you tells you it did not make crossover because it wasn't really introduced until it was voted on the committee until Tuesday, so it didn't make the floor until Wednesday. It then did make the second crossover on fine from their Ways and Means. But in our opinion, it's the first time we've had to look at one of these. And rather than start making exceptions, the thought was that it should be referred by Rule 44A to the Rules Committee for failure to make crossover. Which then gets me to, we don't have the bill yet, which may seem strange to some of you, but the Rules Committee can pre-authorize that the bill move on. And we've done that the last couple of terms. And so in that sense, the reason you're here is so that tomorrow, if it's read the first time, if there is no exception made from the Rules Committee, it would be referred to the Rules Committee. And then you'd have to meet after the session, vote it out, and then it would be put on, referred the next day to appropriations. This does not change anything as far as rule suspensions or no rule suspensions going forward. If it did make crossover, just to complete the whole circle wheel, if it did make crossover tomorrow, it would be referred to the Appropriations Committee. It conceivably would come out the next day, it would be on notice, it would be referred to Finance. They could then come out the next day for there, we'll go back on notice again. So there's a number of days that are still sort of in the hopper without rule suspensions. This is one that I'm not sure any of you, or all of you, or maybe 29 or 30 out of 30 senators have been doing counting. And so I don't think anybody really thought much about this day as a potential issue when you've been doing your counting. And so in that sense, what I spoke with the Pro Tem about was whether or not this committee wanted to give a Rule 44A exemption. So it would probably follow what most of you think the schedule was going to be anyway, if that makes sense.
Okay. So just to clarify, the motion that we'd be looking for is to pre-approve the budget adjustment coming over from the House to avoid the Rules Committee and just travel to its destination and approach.
So moved.
Any discussion? Then the clerk will call the roll.
Senator Lyons?
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale?
Yes.
Senator Beck?
Yes.
Senator Collmore?
Yes.
State your name, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So,
And now I'd like to make a request for a second motion, which is we have a charter coming over, which the Secretary talked about. Charters, just for general background, charters that have to go to town meeting day almost always miss crossover, and we almost always vote them out and give them the exemption.
And I misspoke because I think I've told more than one person they're exempt from the crossover
Right.
dates, which
So
Isn't
the
true.
question would be, are we willing to pre-authorize that as well?
sure. Yes.
Okay, so,
Depends on which town.
Well,
Is it his town?
No, actually it isn't.
no, this would be the Burlington.
I was
charter.
going to say, it's our town. Jeez.
So with that said, motion,
So moved.
okay, any discussion?
just, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. I just want to make sure everybody knows it's 817, which is Morristown, that makes a difference. I make sure we put it
Oh, I
in.
thought it was the Burlington.
The
But
Burlington Charter was introduced as a Senate bill by the
Yeah,
Senator
no.
Chittenden, and that is in the government operations.
Yeah.
okay, my mistake.
This is Morristown.
But I would ask the same, probably, unless you don't want it out.
No, we talked about it and,
Yeah. No, this is the Morristown one.
oh gosh, no. Look, Morristown's a great town.
You don't want
Of
to
course.
make,
I was wondering if all of a sudden you were down on Morristown.
Yeah, I thought the charter that the secretary was referring to was the Burlington charter, that's the Morristown charter.
I move that that gets exempted too.
And then just another thing is that usually when the Rules Committee votes one of these bills out, once it's with us, it's only if the chair happens to be there to ask for it. So in this case, we have the chair, and he's asking for it, so that comports with that. But going forward, we don't pop bills out unless chairs come and ask.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so,
One last thing.
yeah,
I wanted to let you know, we don't have time to meet today, but I'm working on the other requests for like the balcony.
Oh, yeah.
I will make sure I get that hopefully within the next week or two to meet. And you
or
can-
easily by the middle of next year.
Yes, it may be
Bingo.
maybe 2026.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. So no more discussion? Then can the clerk call the roll on the Morristown?
Senator Lyons,
Yes.
Senator Ron Hinsdale.
Yes.
Senator Beck,
Yes.
Senator Caldwell.
Yes.
Senator Baruch.
Yes. Any new business, other business?
No.
Okay, then we are adjourned. All right. Thank you all. Thank you, Senate Secretary.